testimony that you may hear from the next witness, David Nelson. The Commonwealth intends to present evidence relating to the defendant either seeking or obtaining several tattoos. And I want to instruct you specifically regarding this sort of evidence. First, you may not consider this evidence as demonstrating anything about the defendant's propensity to commit crimes or to make use of guns or be involved in gun violence. You may not consider this evidence as reflecting in any way on the defendant's character, that is, suggesting in any way that the defendant is a person of bad character. No evidence may be considered either to establish a propensity to commit a crime or to show someone's bad character. Rather, this evidence is admitted and may be considered by you only insofar as you find it reflects the defendant's state of mind relating to or permits an inference of involvement in the instant case. If you are not satisfied that the tattoo evidence you're about to hear about and that is to be introduced is related to the events at issue in this case, that is, the events involving Mr. DeBreo, Mr. Furtado, and events relating to Alexander Bradley, then you may not consider such evidence for any purpose. On the other hand, if you conclude that the tattoos sought by the defendant are based on the events underlying this case, then you may consider such evidence in determining whether the Commonwealth has proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. So that instruction pertains to the witness you are about to hear from. All right, Commonwealth.
You solemnly swear the testimony you shall give this court and jury, and the issue now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
Thank you, sir. County follow the outcome.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, could you just introduce yourself to the members of the jury, and if you could please spell your last name?
My name is David Nelson, Nelson.
And Mr. Nelson, how old are you, sir?
41.
Mr. Nelson, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a tattoo artist.
How long have you been a tattoo artist?
For 10 years now.
For 10 years. And can you tell us a little bit about what you had to go through in the way of learning and training to become a tattoo artist?
I had an apprenticeship for about 8 months, which basically you watch and ask questions and work for the shop, and then gradually they let you start tattooing.
And do you have some kind of an art background as well?
Yes, I've been painting and drawing since I was young.
Where do you currently, and I don't mean the name or the address, but do you currently own a tattoo studio?
Yes.
And where is that located?
In Redondo Beach, California.
How long have you owned that tattoo studio?
1 year.
What were you doing prior to owning your tattoo studio in Redondo Beach?
I worked for Hermosa Inc. in Hermosa Beach, California.
And when did you work for Hermosa Inc.?
I worked for Hermosa Inc. from 2011 to 2013 or 14, on and off.
Okay. And between the time you stopped working for Hermosa Inc. and the time that you opened up your own studio, did you do some other? Did you continue to do tattoo work?
Yes.
And where did you do that?
Worked in Gardena, California for a short time at 50/50 Tattoo.
50/50 Tattoo?
Yes.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Mr. Nelson, do you recognize the picture I've just shown you?
Yes.
Okay, and what's that a picture of?
It's a picture of Hermosa Inc.
All right, and does that photograph fairly and accurately show Hermosa Inc., which is the place that you worked at prior to opening your own studio?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd offer that as the next exhibit.
Without objection, Exhibit 253.
Mr. Nelson, if you wouldn't mind, again, I apologize. Could you just remind us of the time frame that you worked at Hermosa Inc.?
I believe 2011 to 2013 or 14.
How many other tattoo artists worked at Hermosa Inc. during that time frame? Do you remember?
It was always changing. 5 at the most. 3, I think, was the least.
And did you work 7 days a week, or how many days a week did you work doing tattoos?
It was always different.
Do you have any sense of how many tattoos you've given since the time you've been doing that in the 10 years that you've been a tattoo artist?
I have no idea. Thousands.
Okay. And do you have tattoos yourself?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention, Mr. Nelson, to late March of 2013. You remember that general time frame?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember during that general time frame doing some tattoos for an individual who you later learned was Aaron Hernandez?
Yes.
All right. And do you see Mr. Hernandez in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Would you please point to him and just indicate an article of clothing that he's wearing so that we know who you're talking about?
He's sitting right there with a striped tie and blue jacket.
And is he sitting next to the woman who's in the bright red? For the record, Your Honor.
All right, so noted.
Now, prior to doing the tattoo work for Mr. Hernandez, did you know him in any way, or did you know who he was in any way?
No.
All right. And can you tell us a little bit about the circumstances when he came in to Hermosa Inc. To have tattoo work done?
Just like any other client, he came in, told me what he wanted and where he wanted it, and so we pulled up images from the computer, and he chose which ones he wanted, and from there I either printed out a stencil to apply prior to the tattoo, or I would hand draw it, and then after his approval, then we do the tattoo.
Okay. So let's back up slightly. How many times did he come into Hermosa Inc. to have work done?
Twice.
Twice. And did he come in on either one of those occasions by himself or with other individuals?
He came with his girlfriend the first time, I believe.
All right. And was there anyone with his girlfriend and Mr. Hernandez when he came in that first time?
They had their child.
Okay. And when you say child, do you remember roughly how old the child was?
Very young, like an infant, I believe.
So, Mr. Nelson, just referencing this series of calendars that's been marked CC for identification, your memory is that Mr. Hernandez came in sometime in the March 2013 timeframe?
Yes.
Now, when Mr. Hernandez, his wife, and their child came in for that first time, can you tell us what you remember took place with respect to tattoos?
They each got a tattoo that time. He got half of a quote. I don't know if it was song lyrics, and then she got the other half, him on his chest, and then she got it along her side.
And did you do the lettering for both Mr. Hernandez and his girlfriend?
Yes.
All right. And who was the one that told you what words or quotes they wanted?
I don't remember that.
witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Mr. Nelson, do you recognize that picture?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that picture to be?
The tattoo on his chest that I did.
Okay, and that contains the quote or the what you thought may be lyrics.
Yes.
All right. And in addition to just the lettering of the lyrics, did you do any other kind of decorational work, or was it just the lyrics themselves?
On this particular piece?
Yes.
Yeah, just the letters.
All right. And is that a fair and accurate picture of your work that you did for Mr. Hernandez when he came in?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd offer that as the next exhibit.
No objection.
Without objection, that's received.
Maybe 254.
And with respect to exhibit number 254, is it fair to say that the words that you put on appear in red?
Yes.
That particular tattoo, remind me that we'll always have each other. Is that a tattoo that could typically be done in one sitting?
Yes.
Okay. And roughly how long would something like that take?
Oh, probably half an hour.
Half an hour?
Yeah.
Was that the only work that you did for Mr. Hernandez on that occasion when he came in with his girlfriend and child?
I think so, yes.
All right. And you said that you also did the other part or half of the quote for Mr. Hernandez's girlfriend?
Yes.
All right. Did Mr. Hernandez then come into Hermosa, Inc. At another time?
Yes.
And was it in that same general time frame?
I believe so, yes.
When he came in for the second time, do you remember whether he was by himself or with anybody else?
I think it was just by himself.
And when he came in for that second time, tell members of the jury what took place in as great a detail as you can remember.
He indicated what he wanted and where he wanted it. He wanted a front view of a pistol, like it's pointing at you, a cylinder part of the revolver that holds the bullets, and some words on his hand, blood, sweat, and tears, and a spent shell casing with a little smoke coming out of it.
Okay. And other than the words on his knuckles, did he ask you for words anywhere else?
Oh yes, on his arm he wanted God forgives backwards.
And he specifically wanted those words to be shown backwards?
Yes.
First witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Showing you that picture, Mr. Nelson, do you recognize what's shown in that picture?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recognize some of the work that you just described that Mr. Hernandez asked you for the second visit to Hermosa, Inc.?
Yes.
All right. Does that photograph show all of the work that you described earlier doing for Mr. Hernandez that day?
No.
All right.
The blood, sweat, and tears on the hand is not shown.
Is not showing. But what is showing that you can recognize?
The two front views of the pistol, one spent shell casing, smoke coming out of it, a cylinder of a revolver with one bullet missing, and that God forgives backwards.
And does that picture fairly and accurately show those items that you tattooed for Mr. Hernandez on the day that he came in for the second time.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd offer that as the next number exhibit.
Subject to a previously agreed upon redaction, yes, no objection.
That's agreed upon, redaction, Your Honor.
All right. The 254?
255, Your Honor.
255.
Sorry, Judge, I guess a good time to also note for the record, also subject to a previous motions and objections.
Noted.
Showing you what's been received as exhibit number 255, do you recognize? This is what you were just looking at, is that correct, Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that one of the things that Mr. Hernandez asked you for was the cylinder of a revolver.
Yes.
And in what part of that photograph does that appear?
The lower left.
And have I drawn an arrow pointing towards it?
Yes.
All right. And for the record, that is above and to the left of the T in the words truly blessed. That's the cylinder that you described Mr. Hernandez asking for?
Yes.
You remember describing the front view of the muzzle of a gun
Yes.
that was asked for?
Yes.
Is either one of the front views of the muzzle visible in that picture?
Kind of dark, but yeah, the bottom right.
Bottom right? And have I drawn an arrow to that photo? It is darkened, but have I drawn an arrow to the place where you put that?
Yes.
Your Honor, for the record, that's under, that image is under the letter B in Big Brother on the right side of the inside of Mr. Hernandez's forearm as it appears in the photograph. You said there was a second muzzle that you gave to Mr. Hernandez that day?
Yes, the top right.
Top right corner? And you also mentioned a shell casing.
Yes.
And have I drawn an arrow to the shell casing?
Yes.
Was there anything about the shell casing in addition to just the shell casing itself?
The smoke coming out of it?
And have I drawn a circle around that?
Yes.
And lastly, you described some words that he asked you for. Are those visible right now?
Yes.
And is it fair to say that they appear to the left of the G and the B in Big Brother on the left side of the photograph?
Yes.
Or the left side of his forearm?
Yes.
Now, those particular words, did he have any specific instructions with respect to those words, God forgives?
Just that it was backwards.
Okay. So that they could be viewed in a...
Objection, Judge.
Was there
Sustained.
any discussion of why Mr. Hernandez wanted those words backwards?
To view it in a mirror.
Approach witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Showing you those 3 pictures, Mr. Nelson. I'll just ask you to take a look at them. Do you recognize them?
Yes.
All right, and with respect to the first picture, is that simply a closer up view of the cylinder that you described earlier?
Yes.
All right, and is that a fair and accurate picture of, or closer up view of the work that you did?
Yes.
Showing you the second photograph. Are you looking at that one?
Yes.
Okay, and that second photograph, is it fair to say that shows the cylinder and the other muzzle on the other side?
Yes.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the work that you did for Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
And lastly, what's shown in that last picture?
The other muzzle and the shell casing.
Okay, and is that a closer up view of that?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the work that you did for Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd offer those as the next 3 exhibits.
No objections, subject to one. That was agreed.
All right, 256, 257, 258.
Showing you exhibit number 256, I want to talk about that just a little bit. When Mr. Hernandez indicated to you that he wanted the cylinder of a revolver, tell us how he communicated exactly what it is that he wanted you to tattoo on him.
I don't know if he said cylinder or the part where you put the bullets, but we pulled up images on the computer, and then he found one that he liked and pointed to it.
And is that typically what you would do with a client who came in and asked you for a particular image?
Yes.
And why is it that you do that?
Just to the only way I know how to come up with the image, unless they had some kind of magazine or brought in their own images.
Now, the details surrounding the number of chambers, which in this case are how many?
6.
Okay. Who made the decision about the number of chambers?
The client always makes all decisions.
Okay. And did Mr. Hernandez make the decision in this case?
Yes.
And how did he make that decision? By pointing to the image?
Yes.
All right. Now, is it fair to say that of the 6, that one appears to be empty?
Yes.
All right. Who made the decision about how many cartridges to put in and how many chambers to leave empty?
Mr. Hernandez.
Now, in terms of this particular tattoo, how many of the details were ironed out before you actually began tattooing that image on Mr. Hernandez's arm?
Every detail.
Including whether it would be shown from a particular angle?
Yes.
Did you use your discretion to do anything with respect to this tattoo?
No. I might have made suggestions to how it would be improved aesthetically.
What kinds of suggestions?
Just that it was be tilted a little bit, give it more depth.
Is that the only thing that you can remember as far as your own input is concerned?
Yes.
After you completed the cylinder as it appears right now on Mr. Hernandez's arm, did Mr. Hernandez indicate to you in any way that he was not happy with what you did or that you had somehow done it incorrectly?
No.
Showing you exhibit number 257. And that's the muzzle that you described as being on the other, across from the cylinder, and for the record, underneath the letter B in Big Brother on exhibit number 257. Tell us, if you can, in the same way that we just went through the cylinder, how Mr. Hernandez communicated to you that that's the image he wished you to put on him.
Same way, from pulling images up on the computer.
And what about the vantage point, looking down the barrel? Whose decision was that?
Mr. Hernandez.
And did you do the same thing that you did with the cylinder, that is go on a computer and look for images?
Yes.
And what happened when you did that?
He found one that he liked and indicated that that's the one he wanted.
Was there anything about that image that had any of your own input?
No.
Once you completed that image, did Mr. Hernandez indicate to you in any way that he was dissatisfied or unhappy with the work that you did with respect to that particular image?
No.
Showing you exhibit number 258. And is it fair to say this is the second muzzle that you put on for Mr. Hernandez? Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's basically in the inside of his right forearm, or the inside of his elbow?
Yes.
Again, if you could take us through the same procedure that we just went through, how did you settle on the vantage point, that is, looking down the barrel?
It was requested.
By whom?
By Mr. Hernandez.
And is that simply a replica of the other muzzle that you did down on his wrist?
Yes.
Now, with respect to this particular image, you mentioned that there was a shell casing.
Yes.
With respect to the shell casing, what was the discussion with respect to the shell casing? Did you do the same thing that you did with the muzzle of the gun, that is, look for images?
On the shell casing, I'm pretty sure I just freehand drew it on him.
Now, when you freehand draw something on an individual, is it with something that's less than permanent?
Yes.
All right, and the purpose of that is what?
Just to establish if that's what he wanted, how he wanted it before it's permanent.
As something that can be erased if you
Yes.
didn't get it right, for instance?
Yes.
All right. And your memory is that, and what did you do that with in this particular instance with respect to Mr. Hernandez? What implement did you use?
I believe it was a ballpoint pen.
All right. And did you draw the shell casing based a freehand, meaning without looking at something, or did you remember whether you were looking at something to copy?
I don't remember that.
At some point, was there a request by Mr. Hernandez beyond the shell casing itself, with respect to the shell casing, but beyond the shell casing?
No.
Okay. You mentioned earlier some smoke coming from the shell casing.
Yes.
Did he ask for that in particular?
I believe so.
Well, did you put the smoke there on your own?
No.
Okay. Is that something that you would ever do without being told?
Ever. No.
Did there come a time after you hand drew the shell casing and the smoke that Mr. Hernandez then agreed and said, that's the way I want it to look, or words to that effect?
Yes.
And then what did you do after that?
And I applied the tattoo.
Applied the tattoo. Now, after the second muzzle and the shell casing with the wisp of smoke coming out of it, did Mr. Hernandez indicate to you that he was dissatisfied or unhappy in any way with the work that you had done?
No.
approach the witness, Sean?
You may.
One question before we move on to that. Showing back to 258, do you recognize, this is the second muzzle?
Yes.
Do you recognize any image coming from the end of the barrel?
Yes, smoke.
And smoke, okay. And have I traced out some of that image?
Yes.
All right. That decision to have smoke coming out of the end of the barrel, was that a decision that you made on your own?
No.
Who asked for that?
Mr. Hernandez.
Showing you those two pictures, Mr. Nelson, does one of them appear to be just a larger blow-up of what's been already admitted as 252A?
Yes.
Okay. And with respect to that photograph, does that photograph fairly and accurately show the work that you did with respect to the words, "God forgives," backwards?
Yes.
And showing you the second photograph, is that simply a zoomed-up, closer version of those same words?
Yes.
And does that fairly and accurately show the work that you did with respect to the words, "God forgives"?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'll propose those as the next numbered exhibits.
No objection.
Those being how many?
2, Your Honor.
Without objection, 259 and 260.
And without getting into extreme detail, Mr. Nelson, what the process of tattooing involves what?
Penetrating the skin with a needle that has ink on it to permanently apply an image onto the skin.
And during the course of that process of penetrating the skin with the needle, is there any bleeding that is associated with receiving a tattoo?
Yes.
All right. And would you say that that bleeding is something that happens on all occasions, most occasions, some occasions?
All occasions to an extent, yes.
All occasions to an extent?
Yeah, some more than others.
Okay. Showing you what's been admitted as exhibit number 259, that is a photograph of the "God Forgives" tattoo. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the bleeding that is associated with the receiving of a tattoo, how long does that typically last?
Usually for the one day, unless you irritate it on something, you bump it on something that can cause it to bleed again.
And what kind of care do you, when somebody leaves your shop with a tattoo, what do you generally tell them to do with it as far as taking care of it in the first couple of days?
At that time, I believe it was A&D ointment, vitamin A&D ointment.
And to be applied how?
A few times a day.
For how long?
About 4 or 5 days, and then you switch to an unscented hand lotion.
And that's what you would tell people who just received tattoos in your shop?
Yes.
Okay. Showing you what's marked as, what's been received as exhibit number 259. Can you see the area of the upswing of the D in "God Forgives" where I've indicated that arrow?
Yes.
And do you see something there?
Yes.
And what does it appear to look like to you?
It looks like a little drop of blood, or it could be like a dried piece of blood.
All right. And have you had a chance to look at this photograph in greater detail?
Yes.
Are you able to estimate for us, based upon your experience as being a tattoo artist, when in relation to this photograph this tattoo may have been given?
Okay. That's for speculation.
It's sustained as to foundation.
Your testimony was that the bleeding associated with a tattoo lasts how long?
Only up to a day after.
And what's the outside time frame that you've seen bleeding from a tattoo?
I'm sorry?
What's the longest you've seen bleeding from a tattoo after you've given one?
I would have to say, if it was well taken care of, probably not more than a few hours after it's done.
That it would stop within a few hours?
If you hit it on something, it would excrete more.
Okay. And from your experience, does the tattoo bleed from every location?
Yes.
Okay. So based on that knowledge and based on that experience, and assuming that there had been nothing done to irritate that particular area that the arrows pointed to, can you estimate for us, based on your examination of the photo, when that tattoo may have been given in relation to the taking of the photo? That is, how many days, how many hours, how many weeks before?
Objection.
See you inside, Art. Mr. Lee.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, these tattoos that you described just now, that is the God Forgives, the two muzzles, the shell casing, and the cylinder, were all done to your best memory at the same sitting?
Yes.
Approach one, Sean.
You may.
Mr. Nelson, do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
Okay, and what's shown in that picture?
Mr. Hernandez, right hand, I believe, blood, sweat, and tears tattooed on it. The blood and the tears are in red ink, and the sweat is in black ink.
And is that one of the tattoos that you recall having given Mr. Hernandez at that same sitting that you gave the tattoos with the cylinder, the muzzle, the shell casing, and the words God Forgives backwards?
Yes.
And is that a fair and accurate picture of the work that you did with respect to those words, blood, sweat, and tears, for Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd offer that as the next membered exhibit.
No objection.
Without objection, that's received. 261.
And that, you believe, was put on Mr. Hernandez's right hand, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, do you see the letters above and to the right of the word tears, CBS-WB, and there may be some other letters obscured, but IWBT?
Yes.
Do you recognize those letters at all?
No.
And again, with respect to the words blood, sweat, and tears, did you have any input into the choice of the words or where on Mr. Hernandez's body those words appeared?
No.
And with respect to the color choice, do you have any memory about who made the decisions about the color scheme, that is the red, black, red?
Mr. Hernandez did.
Mr. Nelson, do you remember back in March of 2013, did you have a mobile phone, a cell phone?
Yes.
Do you remember the number that you had at the time?
Yes.
And what was that number?
310-941-9393.
310-941-9393. And do you recall at the time, that general time frame, having some communications with Mr. Hernandez regarding the tattoos?
Yes.
Okay, one moment, Your Honor. Mr. Nelson, you mentioned earlier that there was bleeding that was associated with receiving a tattoo. Do you remember my asking you those questions?
Yes.
Or that question? And that your response to that was that in all occasions it's just a question of how much?
Yes.
In addition to bleeding from the receipt of a tattoo, are there any other physiological reactions that you've seen when a tattoo is fresh?
Yeah, it'll have a scab on it. When the scab comes off, it'll still have a little bit of a shininess to the skin.
Is there any redness involved around the area of the tattoo?
Yes.
Now, do you have tattoos yourself?
Yes.
All right, and those particular things that you described, the bleeding, the shininess, and the discoloration or the redness, are those things that you've seen when you received tattoos on yourself?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 252E. That's the tattoo that you gave to Mr. Hernandez on the first occasion, is that correct?
Yes.
Does that photograph show any characteristics any of the characteristics that you described of being associated with a recent tattoo?
Yes.
What characteristics are shown in exhibit number 252E?
Little redness.
And where do you see the redness beyond just the color of the words?
It's in the middle, around the A, the two A's.
In the word always?
Yes.
Or between the A's?
And it's raised.
When you say it's raised, what's raised?
The letters are raised because they're swollen.
Okay. And how long does it usually take for the swelling to go down or disappear?
Typically about 1 day.
1 day. Okay. And I understand that you did not recognize this, but showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 252D, do you recognize any of the characteristics that you described earlier of a recently received tattoo in the photograph that's shown in exhibit number 252D?
Yes.
Okay. And what characteristics do you see?
It's also raised.
And when a tattoo is sort of complete and finished and the healing process is over, is it designed to be flush with the skin?
Yes.
Now showing you exhibit number 259. Do you see any of the characteristics that you just described being present of a recently received tattoo?
Yes.
And what do you see, what characteristics do you see?
I see a little bit of raised portions and a little bit of blood.
All right. And the blood was in the same place I had drawn the arrow earlier?
Yes.
And the raised portions, where do you see that? If you could just tell us by letters.
The E on forgives a little bit.
Anywhere else?
No, but it looks fresh and shiny. It's shiny when you put the ointment on it. That means it's still healing.
So there's a shininess to it that you observe?
Yes.
Lastly, Mr. Nelson, you remember at some point in September of 2014, some detectives came to speak to you regarding some of the work that you had done?
Yes.
All right. And specifically with respect to the tattoo that we've been talking about, the one that says God forgives backwards, did you, just yes or no, do you recall being asked questions by the detectives about that tattoo in September of 2014?
No.
You do not recall being asked questions about it?
No.
Is there something that I have that might refresh your memory about whether you were asked questions about it?
I believe the first time they asked me, and then the second time they came, they asked me again, which made me believe that they didn't ask me the first time.
Okay. So is it your testimony that you did talk about it the first time, or that you didn't?
I think I did both times.
Okay, both times. All right. And is it fair to say that the first time you forgot or you didn't know whether you had provided the God Forgives tattoo?
Yes.
All right. And today your testimony is that you do remember having done that.
The photo refreshed my memory.
All right. And when you say the photo, what photo are you talking about?
The one with the blood speck on it.
All right. And was your memory refreshed because I showed you the photo, or was the photo shown to you sometime before?
Before.
All right. When was that photo shown to you that caused you to remember that you had done the God Forgives tattoo?
The second time the detectives came.
Okay. So they came to see you a second time, is that correct?
That's right.
And do you remember what year that was that they came to see you a second time?
I believe it was 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
You may.
Well, I guess maybe in your profession, there might be considered an addiction to tattoos.
Yes.
Okay. Are you one of those?
Yes.
Okay, so you can't stop. You're just constantly putting tattoos on you.
Yep.
All right. So with people like this, sometimes people put tattoos because they like a certain thing.
Yep.
Sometimes they put tattoos on themselves that wants to say something.
That's right.
And sometimes they put tattoos on themselves for decorative purposes.
Yes.
Okay, so like there are sleeve tattoos, right?
Yes.
There are tribal tattoos.
Yes.
Doesn't mean they're part of a tribe or anything like that.
No.
Right? And gun tattoos are very common, right?
Yes. Fairly common.
Okay, and there are all types of gun tattoos. Sometimes they turn guns into letters, right?
Yes.
Okay, and sometimes they do extra decorations with guns and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay, and you're in California, right?
Right.
Did you tattoo the gun on Rihanna's body?
No.
Okay.
Overruled. Rihanna's body may stand.
What about the singer from One Direction? He's got a gun tattoo. You tattoo that one?
No.
Okay. Angelina Jolie's gun tattoo?
Nope.
Okay. Now, let's talk about these tattoos a little bit more. When Mr. Hernandez originally went in, he went in with the constant, I know you weren't asked this previously, but I want to ask you this. When Mr. Hernandez went in, he went in with the concept that he was looking for a gun tree, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's something you didn't tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that when he walked in the doors, he was looking for something like a tree with different guns and stuff like that?
I think he told me about that before he left after the second session, and that we were going to do that later, and I'm just remembering this right now, refresh my memory.
Okay. If I showed you a police report, would that refresh your recollection as to a little bit of the discussion?
Sure.
May I have first witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you, sir. I think if you start at paragraph 3.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And part of this tree would have money too,
Yes.
okay? And bullets and everything like that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it was taking guns and kind of making a decoration of guns, kind of like I described earlier with the, you know, like writing letters with guns and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this decorative tattoo never got done.
That's correct.
You don't know too much about guns, do you?
No.
Okay. But as an artist, it's your intent to be detailed, right?
Right.
That's what makes you good, right?
Some might say.
Okay. As they say in art, heaven's in the details.
It's true.
Okay. And when you do a tattoo, sometimes you look for inspirations of your work.
I don't get what you mean.
Meaning, like you testified earlier, that you'll look at a certain image and say, okay, I want to draw that.
Okay.
Or draw something similar to that.
That's right.
Okay, and you'll grow from there.
Duplicate the image.
Okay. Duplicate it exactly, or sometimes you do what's called little poetic licensing.
Sometimes I'll add only with permission of the client.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at that. Do we have a copy of the cylinder tattoo? All right, taking a look at this tattoo. Do you notice how right around every bullet it's curved? Right around here, and then there, and then there, and then there, and then there, and so on.
Yes.
Recall that? Okay. Now, what's indulgence, Your Honor? Now this tattoo is not actually of a gun, right? The cylinder?
No.
It's just a part of a gun,
That's right.
okay? And there are many tattoos like that online, right?
I have no idea.
Well, when you went online to look, you saw quite a few tattoos.
We looked at the actual real piece, not the tattoo of it.
Okay, so let's look at some real pieces. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Is that a photograph of a cylinder?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of a similar cylinder to which you drew on Mr. Hernandez?
Pretty close.
Okay. May I have this marked, Your Honor, as an exhibit? For identification purposes, sorry.
Well, you certainly may for identification.
And for chalk.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the cylinder, right?
Right.
And I'm showing you EEE for identification.
Excuse me, the objection?
I think Mr. Bias said that's the cylinder. I was objecting to the former.
A cylinder, sorry.
A cylinder. Very good.
Okay, that's a cylinder. You said it looks pretty close, and I'm going to put your tattoo next to it. And you see how it's rounded, correct? Right near every bullet?
Yes.
Just like your artwork, right?
Yes.
And do you see in your artwork, there's some rivets towards the end, the other end of the gun?
Yes.
Okay. And those rivets are also here towards the end of the gun?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sir, I'd like to show you another image with another cylinder. Does that look like a cylinder to you as well, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And is a fair and accurate representation of a cylinder?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to mark it for identification.
Very good.
All right, sir. I'm going to show you a different image. And this image is a little different, right?
Right.
Now, you see here, near the bullets, or the bullet holes, or where the bullet goes in, excuse me, it's a complete circle, right?
Right.
Okay, there's no rounding around the bullets like your artwork, right?
Right.
Okay, and then you see this device here, it looks like some kind of almost looks like a star, right?
I see it.
Okay, and it looks like something might go in the middle there.
Yes.
Okay, that's different than this, right?
You think it might just be the other side of it? I
Right.
don't know.
That's where I was going. Good catch there. Okay, so that's the other side of the cylinder, right?
Yes.
Okay. May I approach the witness again?
Certainly.
I'm showing you, sir, a picture of both of what we looked at. Is that a fair and accurate representation of the two pictures that we looked at?
Yes.
Okay. May I have this marked as for identification, Your Honor, as a chalk?
You may. The G.
Triple G.
G.
Okay, sir. And looking at that, that gives us a better perspective, right?
Yes.
You could clearly see that the rivets are on a certain end, right?
Yes.
Okay, and on this end where you drew the bullets, this is rounded,
Yes.
okay? And in this one, it's a complete circle,
Yes.
and there's also a distinctive star-like thing here where this other one has just a simple hole, right?
That's right.
Okay, and I'm gonna try and fit all of these in here. Okay. Now look, actually, I could probably do it better this way. I'm for the record, I'm using Exhibit 256 and GGG. Okay. So it's fair to say, sir, that I know you testified about having an eye for detail, that this tattoo resembles the cylinder more to the right than to the left.
Objection. Sustained in that form.
Okay. Sir, which one of these two tattoos most resembles your tattoo?
The one on the right.
Rephrase.
I'm sorry. I just had a word fumble there. Which one of these cylinders most resembles your tattoo?
I'll see you at sidebar.
Black one, right?
Yes.
Okay. The black one on exhibit GGG. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Are you aware, sir, that that's the back end of the cylinder?
No.
So you don't know that the bullets don't go in that way.
No.
That the bullets actually go in on this type of on this side of the cylinder.
Objection.
If you know that to be the case, you may answer it.
If you know.
I didn't know.
Okay.
Now.
Now, sir, with your eye to detail, you tattooed basically bullets going in the wrong way of a cylinder, right?
Objection.
Right.
Sustained.
Let me switch over to the other tattoo, the other gun tattoo. You testified that you guys went online and you looked for tattoos,
Yes.
okay?
Looked for images, not tattoos.
For images, right? Okay. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Okay. I'm going to show you. Do you have the tattoo? Which one? Tattoo. I'm showing you a photograph of exhibit 258, which is the muzzle photo that you testified earlier about. And I'm showing you another image of a photo. Does that appear to you to be the same type of muzzle?
Yes.
Okay, is that a fair and accurate representation of a picture of a muzzle?
Yes.
Okay. May I mark this for identification?
Yes, certainly.
HHH for the record. All right, sir. So we're looking at your tattoo next to the photograph that we just identified as HHH. Do you see the details that you have here with, I guess, the sight on top?
Yes.
Okay, and then it's almost like a wraparound, I guess the best way to describe that, you see how it wraps around here?
Yes.
Almost like a helmet, right?
Right.
Okay, and that's also depicted in your picture?
Yes.
I mean in your tattoo?
Yes.
Okay, and then you've got the muzzle, the opening of the muzzle where the bullet comes out?
Yes.
Okay, and then you've got, like, down here, some type of a circle?
Yes.
Okay, since neither one of us know too much about guns, I'm gonna just be as simple as I can, okay?
Okay.
All right, and then you've also got the wraparound on the bottom, right?
Right.
And that's pretty close, they look pretty close to one another, right?
Pretty close.
Okay. Are you aware, sir, that this is a muzzle of a Colt 45?
Nope.
Okay, and when you got these tattoos, well, when you drew these tattoos, I'll start with this one, since we're last talking about it. Mr. Hernandez never said to you, I want a Colt 45.
Not to my recollection, no.
Okay, and with the cylinder, he never said, I want the cylinder of a 22,
No.
or a 38,
No.
or a 45 Magnum.
Nope.
Okay. He also didn't tell you how many bullets I guess these are called chambers. Thank you. Now, as it relates to, he didn't tell you how many chambers he wanted, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay. He didn't say, I want a cylinder with 5 chambers.
No, he just picked it up.
Okay.
Screen.
He didn't say, I want a cylinder with 6 chambers.
I don't believe so.
He didn't say, I want a cylinder with 7,
I don't think so.
8, 9, or 10.
Nope.
Okay. Now, let's talk briefly about what you remember, okay? I know there was some testimony about that earlier on, and I want to clarify that. Now, you were first spoken to by the police on September 23rd, 2014, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of your transcripts in case you need to refresh your recollection. I might draw you to them. May I approach?
You may.
Sir, I'm handing you your statements to the police dated September 23rd, 2014 and December 3rd, 2016, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, when they came to see you in 2013, the Commonwealth sent 3 detectives to come see you at Hermosa Beach, right?
Right.
Okay. They didn't send 1, right?
Right.
They didn't send 2?
3.
3. Okay. And out of these 3 detectives, they had to hop on a plane and fly all the way over here, right?
They could have ridden bicycles.
They could have. Are you aware if they rode bicycles?
No.
All right. Now, after these 3 detectives came to your door, or to your ink shop, they began to question you.
They came to my house.
Okay, the first time.
Yes.
Okay, the first time they came to your house?
Yes.
Okay. So they didn't even go to your shop, they came to your home.
Yes.
Okay, and when they came to your home, they knocked on the door, and you wanted to be helpful.
Yes. Well, yes.
Police, they show up, 3 detectives show up at your door. You want to be as helpful as possible, right?
Right.
And you wanted to tell them the truth.
Yes.
You didn't want to lie to them at all.
No.
And you wanted to be as
I'm sorry.
detailed as
Could
possible.
we get the date again?
September 23rd, 2014.
2014.
14,
Thank
excuse
you.
me, excuse me, sorry. You wanted to be as detailed as possible.
Kind of just wanted to get it over with.
Okay. Had they contacted you beforehand, before coming over?
No.
Okay, they just popped up at your door.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was about a year and some time after you did these tattoos, right?
Right.
A year and a half about? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So a year and a half later, but you knew, because you had seen some things on TV, that that the tattoos were, that they were going to come talk to you about tattoos, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, when they came, you only talked about, and you only told them that Mr. Hernandez had seen you once, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. Take a look at your transcript there and see if you discuss any second seating or anything like that.
I don't think I indicated the number of sessions that we had.
Okay, I'll give you that. But today you talked to this jury and you told this jury that Mr. Hernandez went and saw you twice, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now take a look at your statement on the 16th, and I direct you and the counsel to page 3, page 3, line 12.
On the 16th? You mean 2016?
This is 2016.
What was the page again?
3 years
Said
later.
on the 16th, counsel, why don't we reference what date?
December 3rd, 2016.
Okay. What page?
Page 3, line 12. Okay. On this occasion, you referenced how many times Mr. Hernandez had come and done tattoos with you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it wasn't like you told the jury today 2 times, was it?
I was thinking of his wife too, I guess.
I'm sorry?
Or his girlfriend, I was thinking of her tattoo too.
Well,
so-
we're talking about Mr. Aaron Hernandez, right?
That's right.
Okay. And how many times did you tell the police Mr. Aaron Hernandez had come to your store?
3.
Okay. So there's a whole other occasion that Aaron Hernandez actually came to you that you kind of forgot to tell this jury about, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when they saw you the first time, and it was closer to when you actually did the tattoos, you didn't even know that you did the God Forgives tattoo, right?
That's right.
Okay. And if I could have a picture of that. It's fair to say, Mr. Nelson, an artist can easily recognize his own artwork, right?
Yes.
Okay. And not only that, it's in your own handwriting, correct?
Correct.
And when they showed you the photo of this tattoo, you didn't even recognize your own handwriting,
Nope.
okay? And they did show you photos, correct?
Yes.
First time?
I believe so.
Okay. In fact, they marked them, and they had you sign them, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's no debate about that. I don't have to show you them, right? Or would you like to?
No, you don't need to show.
Okay. So, the police show you this tattoo that's in your own handwriting, and you didn't even remember that you had even drawn that on him, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And fair to say there's quite a bit that you don't remember, right?
There is.
Okay. And now we're talking 4 years later, correct?
Yes.
Now, in fact, when it comes to the tattoo of the muzzle, you even told the police, you didn't tell the police that you went online and looked for it. You said you just drew that on him. Do you recall
Yeah,
that?
I'm still not clear if I just drew it or if I made a stencil for it.
Okay. So, as you testified, you're still unclear about a lot of things.
Yes.
Okay. Now, even in the tattoo, yeah. I'm showing you this, which has been previously marked as Exhibit 255. There's something still that you tattooed on Mr. Hernandez as it relates to this tattoo that you still haven't told the jury about, have you?
I don't know what you mean. No.
Take a closer look, sir. Do you see that this actually says God forgives men?
Yes.
And do you see the word men written backwards?
Yes, but I don't remember doing that.
Okay. You have absolutely no recollection after seeing your own artwork in your own handwriting that you ever did that?
No.
Now, on the 3 occasions that you saw Mr. Hernandez, there were other things, there were a number of tattoos that you tattooed him with, right? They weren't all about guns.
No.
Okay. In fact, you did something for him and his fiance.
That's right.
You saw their child.
Yes.
Okay, and then there was some other, there was another tattoo that you testified earlier about the CBS. We have a photo of that, Mr. Lee? CBS. Look to the right. I'm going to show you Exhibit 261. This tattoo here, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you testified today to this jury. You don't even remember that.
I don't.
Okay.
Could have been something we just added on at the last second.
And do you remember tattooing Mr. Hernandez the words "the wrong one"?
Oh, I don't.
Okay. If I could have just a moment, Judge, I apologize.
You may.
For the jury. You testified that on a couple of occasions you exchanged text messages with Aaron.
That's right.
Okay. May I approach?
You may.
I'm going to show you some text messages and see if you recognize them.
Mr. Bias?
Apologize. Okay, I highlighted them for you so you can kind of look at them, then we'll go over them if you can. Starting with one, and put them in order for you. Just see if you agree or disagree with that. You see those?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree, or does that refresh your recollection as to the texts that you sent?
Yes.
Aaron? Now, in these texts, you're basically reaching out to him, trying to get him to come in?
Mr. Bias, yes, may we direct it on? Yeah. Mr. Bias.
Thank you, sir. So you recall that you were actually texting him a few times, and in fact, you thought he wasn't responding to you to try and come back and get more tattoos, right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, you testified on the God Forgives tattoo that, the God Forgives Men tattoo, that,
Sustained.
okay. I'd like to direct your attention to the God Forgives Men tattoo, okay?
Sustained.
Move to strike both of the questions.
I'd like to direct,
We'll disregard that phrasing.
I'd like to direct your attention to the written tattoo, okay? And those that you wrote or remember writing. In your first statement, September 23rd, 2014, after looking at your own artwork and handwriting, you didn't remember, correct?
Correct.
And then showed up at your house again, right?
Right.
2 years later, more than 2 years later, right?
Right.
And that's December 3rd, 2016, correct?
Correct.
Just a few months ago. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And by that time, you now had your own business,
That's right.
okay? And they showed you again another photo, right?
Right.
Well, the same photo, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when they showed you this photo, you now 3 years, was it 16? Well, 4 years after doing the tattoo, you then remembered, oh yeah, I did that.
That's right.
Right. Now, did they call you ahead of time before coming this time?
No.
They just showed up at your house again.
Yes.
And this is 4 detectives this time, right?
I believe so.
Okay. So 4 detectives travel all the way across the country, and they now show you something 4 years later, and you suddenly remember that that's your artwork, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you also tell them this time about 3 visits, right?
The first interview was, I said 3.
Okay. And you're starting to get worried at this time with the police showing up at your door, right?
No.
Okay. After this, you got a lawyer.
Yes.
It served you with a subpoena to come to fly over here.
That's right.
Okay. And you wouldn't come, you fought it, right?
Right.
Okay. And you wouldn't come unless your wife came with you.
That's right.
Okay. And then they promised to put your wife on the witness list so that they could fly her over here, correct?
No.
Sustained in that form, rephrase the question.
Part of the deal, as you mentioned, was that your wife could come with you.
No, overruled.
The first, they subpoenaed both of us. Got a lawyer, went to try to get out of it, so I don't have to shut my business down. They said, well, my wife wasn't a material witness, so she didn't have to go. But they offered to fly her out with me.
Okay. And your wife's in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay. And your understanding is she's not testifying, right?
Right.
Okay. But yet the Commonwealth of Massachusetts paid for her to come here as well?
That's right.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And they put you've been here a while, right?
Yep.
Okay. How many days have you been here already?
Oh, God, 5?
Okay. So you've been here for 5 days, you and your wife, waiting to testify about what you've done today, right?
True. Lost a lot of business.
Okay. Yeah, you did lose some business, but you've also kind of advertised that you're being part of this case, right?
That's right.
Okay. You went on, you posted on your social media about you coming to testify?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And then once you got here, you took it down.
Yep.
Okay. Were you advised by the state to take it down?
No, I just realized it wasn't a good decision.
If I could have just a moment, Your Honor, see if I have anything else. I almost forgot one thing, sir. Both times when they interviewed you, you told the police that Aaron didn't talk much.
That's right.
In fact, he didn't give you too much direction or descriptions, right?
Not while the tattoo was being performed.
Okay. And that's because he was listening to headphones the whole time, listening to his music.
That's right.
No further questions.
All right, we will take our lunch recess. We'll resume at 2 p.m.